Hi everybody. I'm assuming you're here because you purchased this pattern to make the tassel Fringe earrings. This one, a pattern of mine. So basically, this is not going to show you how to bead the peyote. You should have already, as I listed on the pattern cell, you must already know how to do peyote and peyote decrease. And the decrease basically is where you turn the top part where it's beat it flat, um, this part, just to decrease. It's going to just be 3 rows to hold your bead cap and and your wire. So what you're going to need is an eye pin. And you can also make your own. A lot of people make their own eye pins. An eye pin, an earring binding. I use for me, I use nickel free. A bead cap. And these bead caps, these are from Hobby Lobby. I live close enough where I can just go and purchase them, but you can also purchase them online. This is the bead cap. It's 8x9 millimeter, and they're the bell-shaped bead caps. And these, you won't see them in your beadwork, but you could also, if you prefer putting the bead cap on top of your fringe, you can. I'm assuming you bought the pattern and already know Tassle, but I am going to show you a quick way on how to do a tassel. And once you do 7 tassels per earring, you put those aside. And I lost one of my needles here. Here it is. I have a magnet. So let's get started. So first, to make a tassel, you just pick up as many beads as the pattern states, or however many beads you want. In my case, on my pattern, it's I have 59 red beads per tassel. I'm sure I've skipped a few. You can design the tassel your own way also. So basically, you pick up your main beads. And a lot of people tend to use a ring and tie it off as they go. You don't need to do that. Actually, it just gives you more work, and it's hard. It's a struggle, and some people give up. So this is how I do my tassels. Pick up your main beads, and I'm just picking up random beads. I'm not picking up the red as I already have it, but you can also design the tassels the way you want. Then for the middle, I used 3 accent beads. You can use 1. In my case, I have 3. And on the outside fringe, I have 1 bead on the accent. So once you pick up those 3 beads, you just run your needle back up. All your beads. So you have kind of straighten out the bottom. So your tassel the bottom should look like that. And then you just cut off, leave about a 4-inch tail. And don't tie it off yet. Leave about a 4-inch tail and just put it aside. You make seven of them per earring. And once you make all 7, what you do is put them together and try to get them as even as you can. Or some people like the, as you can see, I didn't get them as even. But you get all 7 of your tassels and you tie a knot. And you can tie it a little higher or as close to the beads as you want. That's fine. Mine, I gave them a little gap because they're not, you know, they're not going to show. I tied it twice. And then I made sure it was tight. And I cut off, let me show you. After I tied them all together, all 7 tassels. Here, let me go ahead and just pretend I have all 7 of them together. So pretend all 7 are together. There's a knot right there. I know you can barely see it, and I kind of did it too high, but after you do that, leave about like a couple of millimeters on the thread of all 7 tassels. You're gonna see a bunch of thread, and get your lighter, and once you cut it, the thread short, burn it down, and that seals the knot. Make sure you don't burn the knot off. It seals the knot. Once you have all 7 tassels, it seals the knot. Okay, and if, as you can see, I tied it on this tassel, left a few threads, and I burned the ends. So that pretty much sealed the knot, and they're not gonna go nowhere. As an extra precaution, you can use E6000 glue. I don't use the Gorilla Gel, but the Gorilla Super Glue doesn't expand. It dries fast. And if you want to put some on the knot, you can, but make sure you don't put it on the thread. And you don't put, you know, that's a big no-no. So, and you can go ahead and put your head pin through it now. Once it dries, if you use Gorilla Glue or whatnot. And, whoa, I almost used these. Get your head pin. Like I said, you can make your own using jewelry wire and open it up. Don't pull it out. You don't want to pull it out. You want to do it through the side. Make it go sideways. Just like that. And you have your tassel done. And spread them. Get at least 3. Since there's 7, get 3. You know, 4. And you put it in like that. And it's okay if your knot's big and fat. Like I said, it hides it. This pattern will hide it. And then close it up. Make sure it's closed good, because you don't want to be walking down with your earrings and the tassel falls out. Also, you can glue it on to the, you can also glue it on and just put it aside while you're working on the peyote. Unzipping it. So you have that right there. And these pins, they bend real easy, but it's okay. And I said, everything I use is nickel free because I have allergic reactions to anything made with nickel. So now that you have your tassel done, just go ahead and put it to the side. And of course, you can pop it into the cap now. And like I said, I gave extra thread to hang longer, and you can tie it closer to the beads. In my case, it's not going to show the threads, so you're okay if you do it extra long. You just got to make sure that knot is secure. Once that knot is secure, and the eye pin is secure, that tassel is not going to go out. It's never going to fall out or anything like that unless you're a wrestler or something and pulling each other's ears out. So on this, I'm assuming you guys already have it beaded and you want to learn how to put it together. And if you notice, this part, the bottom part has 2 rows of white and the top has 1 row. And I did that because I did it in even count, so I had to add an extra row to make sure that 1 bead pops out on this side, and just so they'll zip up. So what you want to do now is zip it up back and forth, and I'll go ahead and do that now, and then we'll get to the top part on how to enclose that tassel. But again, make sure you're zipping from the bottom. So I should have snapped about that. So your thread, if you're up here or wherever on your beadwork, or if you cut your thread off, weaved it in, and you need a new thread, well, weave it in where it's coming out this side. Just remember the 2 lines at the bottom. This bead's sticking out, this one's not. So make sure the thread's coming out this side to zip it up. And the reason I say that is because I've got enough threads to finish the top part to get the tassel on. And I'm going to go ahead and zip this up. And I am learning how to do videos, so I'm hoping you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm just used to beading in silence, but I will talk in front of a camera. I'm used to listening to music or watching TV, but I'm trying to get patterns out. So when you're zipping up your little peyote fabric, you just make sure it's lined up, and you're going back and forth, and make sure give it a good little tug, and you don't skip your zigzag. You don't skip any of the beads that are popping out, but basically you're zigzagging in and out of the beads that are coming out. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to do it with the camera in front of me and the beadwork far away from my eyes. And a lot of people on the fringe, on the outside fringe, you can do that before you zip. You can actually add it before or do it after. And on the pattern, the little arrows that I have are on one of them, it's where the needle comes out to start the back fringe. and it basically curves in around the red fringe. And you're free to, use your own colors, get creative. I'm sure some of you, once you know how to do this, you're going to be designing your own. So you're going back and forth on the beads that are sticking out. Make sure you give it a good little tug to make sure it's tight. And it's hard for me to see black beads. That's why I use white threads. It doesn't matter if I'm using all black on beads. I use white threads. Makes it so much easier. People think they have to use black, and of course you can. But if I end up doing some type of beadwork and the threads are showing, I'll just use a Sharpie and cover it up. And these earrings, you don't have to. And to stiffen it, because some beadwork bowls, especially the peyote stitch, it has more of a fabric feel than the brick stitch. And the fringe in the top part actually keeps it round. But if you find your earrings folding in like that, I use floor wax to stiffen them. Right now, this one that I finished, it's holding up pretty well, and I haven't stiffened them, but I do plan on it. Of course, I have to tape up the fringe and make sure none of that floor wax is going to go in. And then when I do paint it, I got to kind of hang it upside down so that way none of it gets to the fringe, because I don't know if you guys ever stiffen something and it accidentally got to your fringe. That's a mess. You have to mess with your fringes and back and forth, and because they get stiff. And if you finish your peyote zipping it up before I did, go ahead and fast forward the video. Okay, so on the top part, if you see there's a little gap right there, you've got to make sure you seal that. Make sure I got all these. If you can see, I think I skipped a bead. No, I didn't. I just didn't pull it tight enough. So now you have your little peyote tube. So you have your little peyote tube. And when you put the fringe inside, it's gonna more or less round it off. If it don't, like I said, you can always shape it and harden it. But in this case, it should have hardened it off. Should have, it'll shape it with this little tube is just the right size to fit in there. And I do use glue to keep it in place, just in case the eye pin, you accidentally yank your eye pin, or by accident and it opens up, because that happens sometimes when you're wearing earrings and your eye, you know, the little circle, it opens up and you lose your earring. So I will be putting glue on the bead cap, and I'll show you guys how I do it. And you got to be very careful and fast when you do it. So now this top part. So we're on the top part. We're gonna do this part this top part right here to get sewed, and that part actually is gonna hold this from sliding out. You don't have to do it. You can just pray and hope and just glue it around and on your beads just like that. That's your choice. So basically, if you want, you can actually let me hold on. Of course, I got it stuck in there, and I ended up putting 2 of them on my last, and I didn't. That was an accident. So I've got to make sure it's gonna be the same size. I don't know how I did that. It was just weird. So I ended up putting 2 of them. So, and it actually hangs lower, makes it more like a soft shoulder duster. So if you don't decide you don't want a peyote around the top, you don't have to. You can just put it right there and put glue in there. But if you notice, it's a little loose. And you've got to make sure you put glue. If not, it's going to slide out. And in time, you never know, it might come out. So it's best just to seal it the way I'm sealing it. And so we're going to turn this flat, which actually looks like a brick stitch after you zip up, into peyote. So it's basically going to be peyote. And let me get some white beads. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I'm running out of white beads here. I'm going to go buy more. So you have it doesn't matter where you come out. You know, if you want, you can come out the back. So, you know, because I've noticed the double B's don't really with the white, but you want to turn it this way. And you're going to start a peyote. So you pick up 1 bead. Put it in through the next one. Go down. Oops, I accidentally picked up. No, I picked up 1 bead. So that bead is going to be going like peyote side to side. And then go up the next bead. And just continue doing the same. Go down the next bead. Go up the next bead. So you just do that all the way around until you get to the end. And this, a lot of people use caps and they'll glue them on and they'll put something inside it to help. You don't need to. If you can, I kind of use beads to do that. So next bead. Oops, I did a boo-boo. Let me get out of there. Put the needle back in. I forgot to go up before and then I put a bead and I forgot to go up first. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure we can all relate. I need to move this needle in front of me to get it in. I don't know what happened to my other beading needle. I think I dropped it on the floor and swept it up. This one I have a hard time putting the thread through. And then some days they go through like nothing. Put my glasses on. I guess that'll help. You guys are more than welcome to fast forward the video. Got it, yay. Okay, so you just continue all the way around and always just go to the next bead, from one bead to another. Put that top bead, you go to the next bead. Next bead. So wherever you see your thread coming out, basically, whether you're putting the bead in or going back up, it's always the next bead. Just always go up or down the next bead. Never the same bead when you're doing this. And there I go, I did it again. Let's see if I can do this without taking out the needle. I definitely need, and of course I pulled out the needle anyway. I need to go get me get me some more needles that I can actually use and not struggle with. A good needle is a good needle. And how many of you go through those frustrations involving your needles? pick up the wrong bead, or you know, I do a lot of bead work, and people talk about the spirit bead, and yes, in a lot of my work, I do actually accidentally put a wrong bead. I try not to on my patterns. So I've actually posted a video on one of the bead group, and some lady said that most beaders and they leave it, and yes, they do. I mean, that's just something, you know, it's made with love. But when you make patterns, I I could be like 100 rows down, and I'll see a mistake, and because I'm using that for a pattern, I have no choice. I replace the bead. I do. I break it off and I replace it. So I show how to do it. And some people, oh, you should leave that. People shouldn't, you know, shouldn't do that and whatnot. Well, you can. Because sometimes, I put it wrong again. Sometimes, no, I didn't. Sometimes it's very noticeable. And you want to change it. And some people frog their beadwork and or start over because of that, because they know that it's very noticeable. So for those who say, "Oh, leave it," it's a spirit bead. If it's not very noticeable, fine, leave it. If you want to change it out. You know, it's still your beadwork. Like I do, I make 3D star patterns, and that's what I've been making. But I was getting a little burnt out, and I have a bunch that I don't even have listed. And I was getting a little burnt out on them, so I'm taking a break and just been making earrings for excuse me, I don't know what I did there, but looks like I made a mistake on this beadwork. I'm going to be bead weaving some stuff soon. I know what I did. But yes, you can call it a spirit bead, and because you're making it with love, or you know. But if you're selling something, you know, you can explain that to a client. They could be okay with it. Sometimes some people are not, because they want to showcase their beadwork because they're happy, you know, they've got something beaded. Okay, so we have it all beaded around, and if you notice right here, those two beads are going to be together. You put in your last bead, and they are going to be together. So what you want to do, that's your kind of sort of like your step up or your decrease. So that one bead, the last bead that you put in, go back through this bead, just go to the side, or the next bead to the side, to your right side. Bring your needle up, and then put your needle through both those beads. You put them through both those beads, and it'll bring it together. Now what you can do, so you know where you're at, so you don't mess up, you can I'll use this, or you can use another thread or whatnot, and this is where you know that you're gonna decrease. So you can use something, or even a marker, not the Sharpies, but the those wipe off markers. What are they called? You can write on board and wash it off, wipe it off. So you can mark those two beads. Or just put something through it. I just bent a head pin and I put it through those two beads, so that way I know where I'm starting the next row. This is a head pin. I just bent it. And once I get to, and of course you got to make sure you don't get your thread stuck around it, wrapped around it. So now you just peyote stitch around it. To your next bead. And with my luck, I'm going to get the thread stuck. But just mark that bead however you wish. And the only reason I'm doing it with white beads, because believe it or not, it's hard to tell once you've got the peyote stitch around it. And just peyote around, and when you get to the end, of course, you give it a good tug and it'll fold in your beadwork, and then you do another row. But this is gonna keep your top closed, where that bead cap doesn't slide out if you don't glue it. In my case, I'm gluing it. I have grandbabies. I have grandkids. They like to pull on my earrings, and believe me, they've given me some good tugs. Okay, so once you peyote stitch around there, then you know where you're at. So we're back here where I put the head pin through those two beads. We're not putting a bead in there. So what you're gonna do, you take it out, and then run your needle. Just run your needle through those two beads. Now give it a good little tug. So you have that. Now, if you notice on the third round, we are gonna put a bead through there, but not right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the head pin back. Through the spacing where I'm gonna go ahead and put the bead now. So I'm sorry if you've already put your thread in. Just take it back out, those two beads. That was my mistake. So go ahead and put another bead in there. And then go through those two beads to end it. That was my mistake, you guys. Sorry about that. So basically put your headband or whatever you're using on the last bead that you put. And peyote stitch around until you get there. And once you get there, then you close it and weave your thread in, cut it off. Unless you have long thread, you can weave it to the bottom. So basically now you're peyoting, and if you notice, they're kind of popped up. Some probably will go down, but you're just peyoting. But you skip on this one when you're going to the next row. You skip the 2 beads, and that's your decrease. And then every other bead is the regular peyote all the way around. And take your time. Don't to look at your beads. Make sure you're going. So basically, you skip 1 bead and then go to the next bead. It's a peyote. So I'm assuming you guys already know peyote. There's videos online increasing and decreasing peyotes when you're doing 3D work, or switching out peyote to brick stitch, and that happens a lot with a lot of 3D work when they're making little animals or certain little things. Let me get this hip pin out of the way here. Make sure that I don't have put the thread around it. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have to use a head pin, or I just count." Yes, you can do the counting, but sometimes I just like to bead and not count. The fringes and tassels is a lot of counting, but if you mark where you started, like for a step up, or you just go, and not, especially if you're doing a large project. I mark it, but this is just something that I am doing for this one. Now, where the head pin is at, I'm going to take it out. I still have 1 more bead to put in, or 2 more beads. So you're putting that one in, and then of course you're putting your last bead where the head pin was. And you're basically done with the top. Just make sure you get it nice and tight. Now what you want to do is just weave your thread in. You can go around it. Let me see where I'm going to weave it through. Didn't know I had my thread tangled up in there. It was over Another thing, you got to make sure your thread's not around another bead and whatnot. So once you get your beads in, all you have to do is weave it in, make sure it's tighten. Just weave it around. A few times. Go up and down the beads and just, you're tightening that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave the thread. Once I get out one of the beads of the peyote, go down one of the brick stitch as close as I can where it's not going to be shown. And weave my thread. Some of you guys might have an extra long thread so you can actually go all the way down. And if you do, if you notice this part here, the first little tent area, then you go up to this one, this corner one right here, and then to the next one, and just count down every other bead from that bead, so you can actually have your needle come out there. In my case, I'm just going to weave this off and just cut it off and start a new French thread. And my dogs are bugging me to go out. You guys need to go out? Hold on. So just weave your thread anywhere. Just make sure that you go from one bead to the next, top, bottom, side, so it doesn't show. And I think that's good enough. And I use tiny little scissors. You can use a zapper or whatnot, and give it a good little tug. And I put the tip of my scissors against that thread. Like I said, I give it a good little tug so that way that thread eventually will go inside the bead. So you have your top enclosed, and let's see, I'm sorry, I'm using 2 bead caps because I don't know what I did. You can just use one. And like I said, I accidentally put 2 bead caps on the other one, and by then it was too late because I had glued it. But make sure it, and I know how I did it now because I just did it again. There was one already in there and I thought I had lost it. So now it's not going nowhere. And the reason I say I'm going to glue it, here, let me pick up my phone. So that's part of the tassel. Is because if you got grandkids like I do, especially the girls, they're actually rougher than the boys. You have to make your loop right here to attach your earring post. And depending on the kind of wire you use, they can actually pull it, and it pulls out from the loop. It bends that loop. And like I said, you can actually glue it closed or whatnot. I don't. But I am gluing this. And I'm going to show you how to do it. And you've got to make sure when you put that headband that you don't go to the side of the bead like that. You got to make sure it comes out right in the middle. And both caps stayed in there. And I'm just going to show you how I put the glue. You don't even have to use a lot, just a tiny dab, a couple of dabs. Get my glue here. And this glue dries pretty fast, so I'll just try not to get it on your fingers. Oops. And do what I did. I guess this way will be better. So I put a couple little dabs on there, not much. And the reason I'm doing that, because if that happens with one of the kids yanking on my ear, well, it's not, the fringe ain't gonna fall out. So you've got to be pretty quick on this, because super glue dries fast. And there you have it. I say so this Gorilla super glue dries pretty fast. So you have that. And so the fringe don't come out. And I forgot to put glue inside within the cap on the fringe. That would be me. You can, inside the cap, when you put the fringe in, you put glue. And that's where I didn't. I guess I'm just going to have to be careful kids don't tug my ear. Now, if you have a looper, that'll work. Or you can use these. I have a looper, but what you do, and I'm going to have to use the looper on it to get it the right size like the other side. You want to make your I don't even know what it's called, your little circle, bend your wire to hold the earring post. I have and I'm still practicing on it. I have this looper here, and it's a hit or miss for me right now. I'm sure I'll get better at it. And this one automatically makes the loop. And I make sure I put it, this time it worked for me. But because it didn't work for me. It left it too long. So I'm just going to use it's about the same size. The looper works great for head pins, for eye pins, and for bracelets when you're not doing bead work, because I use it a lot on my wire works. I'm sure plenty of you know how to. I bent this, so it's going to be a little hard for me to get it right when I did the looper. Cut that little piece off. Sorry, this is not the proper way to do it. So you make your little loop on your earring. And let me make sure I've got it. And I'm going to go ahead and use glue on this top, so try to get some glue in there. Which I did on this one, and I didn't do it on this one. But see, I get it where the loop is not gonna turn like in most fringes, and the reason I did it that way is because the pattern is in the front, so the earring post is towards the back. But that's an easy fix. Just a little dab of super glue. Now, before you put your tassel in, where your tassel is hooked up on the end of this, you can put a little dab in between that and the fringe and the cap and the hook. Now, if you're just do a solid color of these, then that's fine. You can have it turn, or you do one with little flowers and it'll turn on both sides. In this case, I just want the pattern on the front to show. As the back, I don't really have a pattern on it. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to get a little bit of glue in there to keep it from moving anywhere. Which I should have done. I'm gonna let that dry. Okay, it's already drying up in there. Make sure that glue is going in there. You don't want to do what I did. You put the glue inside with the tassel, but this is okay for me. I'm sure glue went in there. I'm glad I don't have gel super glue. That's rough. The very liquidy works good for your little mistakes. So that's not going to go nowhere. Give it a minute to dry. Blow it a little bit. I'm going to go let my dogs out. Come on, girls. Come on. Go outside. Baby, out. I just noticed some more squash blossoms. My squash are coming out nice and pretty. They're little babies. Can't wait to make a nice calabacita stew with those. Every time I make those, and my family knows, they come and eat And especially one of my brothers, he's ready every time I make something like that. And we grew up on that, and with mine I add chili. I'm from New Mexico. We just gotta have our chili. Chili capital of the world is what they call us. And so we grew up eating chili as kids. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm gonna, before I stop the video, it's dry. What you want to make sure, depending on how your hook is, how you turn this, I am putting it where it stays like that, side to side, not turning it that way. And that's why you need to put glue before, when you put the fringe on the cap, which I didn't do, but I went ahead and put some. There's a little hole at top, so it got in there. So it's not going nowhere. It's nice and glued, but make sure that it's side to side, because depending also on your earring post. So you want, because you're gonna want these earrings, because if you notice, there's no pattern on the back. I could have, and I just in the front. So when it sits on my earlobe, that's what they're gonna see is the front, of that, and then how this curves, the fringe curves around the red beads, and the red beads are right in the middle. So you're gonna have that curve around. And I left a little thread sticking out. You see it? I'll cut it off in a minute. And another thing you can do is you can add a little charm, maybe like a little feather charm, which I do plan on beading tiny little feathers on it, a couple of them, and I'm going to add them here. And I do have feathers on another pattern I did on my Etsy, and it was for my headdress earrings. So if you, let me get it. So if you were to go to my Etsy and you see this design on there, which I give all optionals for the middle and the breast area. This pattern has little tiny feathers that'll work perfect for these earrings, and I did design those little earrings. You'll see a bunch of them online, but those specific feathers I specifically design them to put on earrings, any type of earrings. And you know what? I think I'll just add that feather pattern onto the earring. But they will look really cute right here in the front. And the earring post, I got those at Hobby Lobby too, nickel free. Now I'm going to show you where to start. Now that you know how to secure this and where that doesn't turn. Like I said, you don't have to if you want your earring to turn. If you decide to do your own type and and go, that's fine. But because, like I said, because this one has just the design in the front, this is how I got it to make sure it's not gonna move nowhere. So make sure you put it in front of you, and this to hook up your earring is this way. Let me put it on now so that way you can see. Where's the earring post? Make sure that I get in there. Hold on, I need to get off camera. Make sure I put that earring in the right direction here. And then you close it. Make sure it's closed good. And I've noticed the glue's still a little wet. I'm going to have to get a toothpick and put glue in there. I've got to make sure that that's not going to spin. Make sure you put the glue before you put the tassel in. So anyways, when you put your earring on, whether you use a decorative one or just a regular earring post, kidney earrings, you can. And like I said, you can actually use one of these cones, make them longer, shoulder dusters, and don't put it in there, but you put it in just like that, and you still have to, like I said, glue your tassel in them. But yeah, glue your tassel. Once you got your wire, make sure you put a little dab of glue inside, because you will have issues with it turning. Your earring will just turn and turn. So you want it to show the front of your earring. Now, to start the fringe, let me go ahead and weave this in so that way I can kind of show you where to start. Now there's a total of I'm weaving in a new thread. I had a French thread. Let me find the one that I already had for my fringe. And where'd you go? Did you fall on me? On the floor. Ooh, glad the dog didn't get a hold of it. Gotta be careful. I've got a new pup, and she's... Now on your thread, it's up to you if you want a long thread. Just work with thread that you're comfortable with. Because if you need to start another one, you can always weave in, when you're done with your thread, or almost done, you can always just weave in a new one. Right now I'm just weaving in a new thread. For the fringe, and show you where you need to come out to start the back fringe. Let me get this in, and don't know what I did here. I'm a mess. Get these beads to hang out. I'm going to come out where we're supposed to be, and then I'll show you. Let's see. Cut this. This is pretty much weaved in. Always when you cut your thread off, I don't like to use zappers. It leaves a little black area. I just pull it tight, use little scissors and clip it off, and when I pull it tight like that, the thread actually goes inside the bead. Okay, so let's see. Let me go back. One more bead here. I'm trying to get the needle in where we're supposed to be coming out to start the fringe. Okay, let's see. On your front of your beadwork, you see this little, not the little tent here. Okay, you're gonna go up the next sharp end, and then the white bead next to it, and then just determine. Let's see if I can get closer. So, well, get in there. Do one more. Two more. I thought I was on the right side. Now, whether you're going left or right, if you're using the pattern, it doesn't matter if you come out this side or this side in the front. But if you see the black, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you guide on the black. So you skip every other where it's lined up. You see every other that's even with it. Okay, and it stops at the second to last line. So you go to the next bead and you come out that bead. Let me make sure again. Or you can just go down the black side and count. So you have your needle coming out that bead right there, and it'll do 14 rows. You're going to do 14, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 14. Let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 14. Did it myself and I lost count. But let me tell you again. Okay, so there's the black one. Okay, and then the one you skip every other that's lined up with the black. And once you do that, when you get to the bottom, then you're going to come out the next bead on the bottom. And that'll leave you 14 beads to bead around. Till you get to this side here, the same way, So you get to the 14. And then in the front, you'll be left with, let me get the other earring. I didn't even count that, but I can count it now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in the front, you're going to be left with 7 blank areas. You know, you could, of course, you can put fringes in there and seal it around and maybe do a V shape. And it'll just enclose all the red, but still show the red. Just, you can get creative with these earrings. I plan on doing some feathers, right, little tiny feathers right there. So on your black, I'm not gonna do a fringe, or I guess I could do one. And in my case, I've used 60 beads all the way around. If you look at the chart, I'm putting the number amount, and I started with 60 beads plus 1. So let me go ahead and get 60 in here. It's 30 beads. Okay, so I have 60 beads, and this is the fringe, not the tassel. The middle is the tassel. The outside is going to be the fringe. So I have 60 beads on there, and this is where you have to be careful. And then, of course, one accent bead. I'm using the galvanized silver. Um, and so you add that galvanized silver or an accent bead, or you can use the same color beads. You've probably decided to use your own, but if you follow the fringe on the pattern, there's 60 beads. So you don't so you've got that accent bead, or if you want, you can put the 3 beads, you know, to do just like this. But on the fringe part, I decided just to use one bead, and then basically you run your needle all the way up them beads. And I lost my needle. I don't pay attention to that. Put my thread back in. It was easy to thread this one. It's a new needle. Um, so just basically just keep on running your needle and make sure that you get every bead. Try not to skip, because if you skip a bead, you're going to see a little lump. If you have to go through a few at a time, go through a few at a time. You don't have to um, go through them all at once. Some people use those big loom needles. You don't really need to. And I give it a little roll to make sure that I have all the beads, not skipping no beads. If you give your beadwork a little roll while it's in the needle, you'll know if you've got, if you left the bead out. It'll show by giving it a roll. You'll see your thread. Unless you're using a thread the same color as the beads. And that's kind of hard. And you'll see that it's starting to get curl up. I'll show you how to take that curl out. And then you go back up the bead you came out of. Now, if you see there's a curl there, all you've got to do, because sometimes that curl, because sometimes the thread folds in, just give it a little tug back and forth, and just make sure that the thread and you'll get that curl out. And then once you got the curl out, then you go to the next down the next bead, and you continue your fringe. And always make sure that the tassel, before you start your next one, that the curl is out. A lot of times that curl happens because when you're going back up, the thread will fold inside. So you just got to make sure that there's not a few little tugs, and that helps a lot. And you don't get that curve where your bead works. Like, see how that's curling that right there? That's what you don't want. And that curl is from the first thread, so it still needs tightening. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick that up. I didn't know I left that much curl in there. And give this one, and it's starting to take it out. And let me make sure I got them out. It's still in there. But yeah, like I said, a lot of times those curls will stay in there, either from the first one or the next one. So if you don't want your beadwork to curl, you've got to make sure that light, gentle tugs. And usually when you do that, you'll pull it and you'll see it at the top. So you have to keep kind of just get that curl out of there. It's because the threads fold up, and you would think it won't when you're going down and then back up, but it does. There's the little folds in there. So, and once you got them out, and a lot of times if you start from the bottom, you'll know. Um, it'll start pulling it. It's the curl's not from the one going up. It's usually from the one going down, and then it pulls it when you're going up. So the curl is out of there, and because you don't want the curl, and that's how you get your curls out. Because if not, your bead twists up like this. And I know some people like that, and I do. And actually, on some of my earrings, I really do like that. But on fringe earrings, I really don't. I like that smooth liquid. And this is the one I accidentally put wax on the fringe. But I like the smooth look. I don't like it to curl up. But I've noticed a lot of people have issues with curling on the beadwork. And just got to remember that it's usually from the first. I mean, you can do it as you're going up too. Um, and I just got a habit of going up and then fixing it after. But on the pattern, just continue. And you're going through the back side until you do all 14 rows on the fringe. Weave in your thread, cut it off, and you're done. Unless you're going to put a little charm on the front. And as me, I'm going to put some little feathers on the front, and I am going to put them on the photo. This is bugging me. And harden the top. I kind of like hardening my work. And when done, just show me your pictures. And like I said, can't stress this enough. That top, make sure that it's going straight back and forth to put the earring loops, so that way when you put them on your ears, it's the front. Glue the fringe inside the cap. When you attach it together, just give it a little dab so it doesn't turn like it did on mine, and having to struggle to fix it. But it looks like it worked the way I did it. And I hope you guys enjoy this. If there's something you don't understand on putting these earrings together, let me know. I am using size 11. You can use any kind of beads as long as they're uniform, especially when doing the peyote stitch. You want uniform beads. You can use the tohos. I'm using size 11 delicas is what I'm using. I'm going to try making some with tohos. I'm going to go buy more beads tomorrow and see how they come out with this style. I'm sure they'll come out nice. I've seen people use those for fringe and tassel earrings. But this is a combination of fringe and tassel. You can make pretty neat designs when you do the half and the bottom different to make the middle pop out. I was in a black moment, and I ended up using black for the fringe, and now I want to change it white. But if you're doing it right, you'll see it's uniform still in the back. And then the fringe is coming out the middle, and when they're hanging, the black is wrapping around, halfway wrapped around the middle fringe. So get creative if you want to do something different. And but this pattern, on the pattern, I won't do bead counts. The only place I'm going to do bead counts is on the peyote piece. And that's it. But to use the pattern, you need to know peyote to bead this. Once you got this beaded, then you can use the video to complete it. And you guys have a good one. Bye.